we identify and analyze 6 risks to domestic financial stability. These will be unpacked in the presentation, but to summarize, they are, you guessed it right, escalating global conflicts, deteriorating public sector debt ratios, rapid capital outflows amid declining financial market depth, increased financial distress in households and small enterprises, critical infrastructure failure, and remaining on the FATF grey list over the medium term. We also identify certain long-standing or structural risks, such as South Africa's low and inequitable economic growth, the implications of climate change for the financial sector, and the ever-present risks of cyber attacks disrupting the financial system. There are also a few other interesting pieces of content in this FSR which I would like to draw your attention to. First, we are introducing a revised residual and vulnerability matrix, or the RVM, which aligns the South African Reserve Bank's financial stability monitoring and assessment framework with the approach of the Financial Stability Board. The RVM summarizes the vulnerability of the financial system to key financial stability risks after taking into consideration both mitigating and amplifying factors. The main message we are conveying here is that in aggregate, our regulated financial institutions remain resilient as measured by their ability to maintain adequate capital and liquidity buffers to absorb shocks. Second, we describe a new financial conditions index for South Africa. The goal of the Financial Conditions Index is to summarize through a single index how easy it is for firms, households, and government to access finance. We have used FCIs for some time, but this last iteration is intended to simplify and to also be more inclusive, hopefully giving us a strong shared starting point for evaluating financial conditions. For those of you who are interested in the methodological details, we are also publishing a paper on our website detailing the new index. Third, we have some analysis of the counter-cyclical capital buffer, which we are moving to 1% over the course of next year. This decision, which was first announced a year ago, is intended to achieve what we call a positive cycle-neutral capital buffer. In plainer language, this means, on average, we want this buffer to have a positive value, leaving room to cut it during downturns. The analysis outlined in the FSR suggests the move up to 1% will have a modest and temporary impact on credit extension, not severe enough to outweigh the long-term financial stability benefits that a counter-cyclical policy tool brings. Fourth, we have an interesting box on how South Africa's supply of high-quality liquid assets is evolving. As you know, in 2022, we introduced a new monetary policy implementation framework, replacing the shortage system with a surplus system. This has contributed to a change in the SARB's liabilities. Previously, we used to drain liquidity by issuing a variety of liabilities which mostly didn't count as HQLA. Now we have a surplus system, and the supply of bank reserves have more or less doubled. These reserves are excellent HQLA because you never have to worry about liquidating them, and they always keep their face value. They are cash balances held in the national payment system, the purest form of rent liquidity. The box shows that the share of these bank reserves in banks' level 1 HQLA has risen from about 12% to 20%. An interesting shift.
The FSR starts off by summarizing key global developments and risks that could have spillover effects to the financial system in South Africa. In the period since the previous FSR, geopolitical conflicts, can't say this now anymore, have escalated, and the record number of countries have had elections, in many cases resulting in a change of government or coalition governments. There are growing concerns about ballooning public debt levels globally, which now stand at 94% of global GDP and expected to reach 100% of global GDP by 2030. That's according to the IMF. Policy divergence among advanced economies seems more and more likely. All of these factors result in heightened uncertainty, a high sensitivity to economic news, and financial market volatility. The graph on the left, you don't have to worry about what is what, but it generally shows how several volatility indicators have increased since the beginning of the year. On the right, it shows the expected interest rate decreases in advanced economies, supporting some easing in global financial conditions. I'll move over then to the domestic developments and risks. South Africa faced various idiosyncratic risks and challenges over the past years. We have elaborated on these in our previous editions of the FSR, but since June 2024, there has been some respite after the formation of the Government of National Unity. Improved sentiment had positive effects on the financial sector, and South Africa outperformed its emerging market peers in various respects. The graph on the left shows how South Africa's sovereign bond spreads have declined to below the emerging market bond index spread, or the MB spread, since June 2024. It was further supported by an improvement in the sovereign credit rating outlook. In contrast with the currencies of most of our emerging market peers, the rand has appreciated by almost 6% against the dollar in the year to the end of October, before retreating somewhat after the US elections. The JSE All-Share Index has reached new highs, and there has been net foreign investment inflows into the domestic bond market.